Greetings, fellow Gorehounds. Before we begin this review, I want to first remind all of you that SAG-AFTRA and the WGA, the Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, are still currently on strike. So I'm going to include in the description of this video a link to both of their websites so that you can further educate yourself on why exactly these two guilds are striking, as well as a link to the Entertainment Fund if you want to help them more directly. And as you probably already know, movies cannot get made without writers and actors, as much as the rich fucks in charge want to convince all of you that they can be replaced with AI. They can't, and they shouldn't be replaced with AI. So fuck the corporates, support the unions, and let's get on with this review. Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about the Tubi original, She Came from the Woods, directed by Erik Bloomquist, who some of you may remember is the director of 10 Minutes to Midnight, the vampire radio station movie starring Carolyn Williams that I'm pretty sure vlogged like 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It was something like that. And this is his latest movie and is currently available on Tubi, like I just said. And it is another 80s throwback movie. But unlike the previous 80s throwback movie, this is mixing together a whole bunch of different elements. This movie is kind of like an amalgamation of 80s summer camp comedies like Meatballs, 80s summer camp slashers like The Burning or Friday the 13th, as well as elements from movies like The Brood and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
They're all kind of mashed together into one thing into this movie.
Yeah. Now, when you hear Tubi original, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah. The last Tubi original that we saw was Terror Train, and it was terrible. We were not entering this movie with high hopes, but it actually pleasantly surprised me.
Yeah, it's actually very good.
It's a really good movie. Pretty good cast. We've got like a Bill Sadler in this joint.
Yep.
It's got the mom from Stranger Things in this as Bill Sadler's daughter. And the teens in this movie, all the people that play the teenagers, are all pretty capable actors. They're not like amazing performances.
Oh, no. Nobody sucks in this movie.
But they're all serviceable for this type of movie.
Yeah.
The movie delivers on just about everything else you could want out of a movie like this. The comedy's funny.
Yeah.
The blood and gore, when that hits, is bloody and gory.
Yeah, not a lot of nudity, though.
Not a lot of nudity. It does not have that.
When we went in, like, I quickly thought that, oh, this is going to be like the Hatchet movies.
Yeah.
You know, and it is a little bit, but it largely does its own thing.
The Hatchet movies are more overtly a comedy to the point where the characters are like throwing out like jokes. There's not a lot of characters saying jokes in this movie.
No.
It's more the situations are funny.
Yeah.
And the characters are playing it pretty straight. It's the last day at the end of the summer camp session, and the teens who are the counselors at the camp decide to spend their last night performing a weird ritual for this nurse that used to be at this camp a long time ago, though they're not convinced it was actually a real thing and it's just a myth.
Yeah. They think it's just like a campfire myth, you know.
And they believe that if they perform this ritual, she will rise back from the dead and come back and try to heal them.
Yeah.
And that actually happens. Except instead of healing them, she kills them.
Yeah, because it turns out that the woman who the legend is based on was real and she was a murderous nurse.
Yes. And there is some twists associated to that we'll talk about in the spoiler section. But to be honest, you will figure them out pretty early on in the movie before they reveal them. It's not that hard to figure out.
The first actual kill in the movie is when the movie turns from like a kind of summer comedy about like assholes into the slasher movie part, and it was actually really abrupt and shocking.
It is. It really is.
Because you don't expect it to happen at that moment.
And the other element of this movie that makes it even more horrifying is she possesses children.
Yeah.
To carry out
witch's children to like do her bidding.
To carry out some of her bidding. So you have like that element kind of like The Brood, where the kids that they thought went home for summer after the summer camp are now popping up and like stabbing them and shit, you know?
Yeah. And the king of the little kids.
Oh, yeah.
is Crutches Boy. Boy in Crutches.
That guy was amazing.
Yeah. The best of the little kid characters, because you're like, he has the best lines. Yep. And just when you think you've forgotten about him, here he appears.
Now, unlike the awesome straight-to-video slasher movie that we talked about last time we were here, this movie actually has way more of a coherent plot to it. There's actually plot and character development throughout this movie.
Yeah.
It's not just a fun, good time. The plot involves the youngest son of the mom from Stranger Things.
Yeah. You mean, what, Mike's mom?
Mike's mom,
right,
yeah. It turns out that he is the youngest son of her. She is the daughter of Bill Sadler. Bill Sadler is the guy who owns the whole camp. And he is kind of a fuck up, or at least he's seen as a fuck up by the rest of the family. And the movie is largely about him trying to overcome that, but he is ultimately what causes the fuck up. Decides to do this ritual that fucks it all over.
He is ultimately the one that decides to do the ritual that ends up fucking everyone over and getting most of the people in this camp killed.
But in his defense, he didn't know it was real. And there's like a relationship between him and his brother. His brother is the more straight and narrow guy, and he's the more like, fuck authority guy.
Yeah.
And then there's the mom who just wants the best for him, but he's never doing the right thing. And then there's the grandpa who seems to be kind of like, he'll come around eventually, but is also like, this fucking kid.
Yeah, well, he wants to like leave the camp in the hands of the family, but like none of them are ready to run it.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And he's also one of those guys who is just like, bury me at this place. I'm never gonna leave.
Yeah.
This is my life's work. Played wonderfully by Bill Sadler. As good as everyone is in this movie, Bill Sadler acts circles around everybody.
Oh, well, yeah, he's Bill Sadler.
Every time he shows up, the movie levels up a grade.
Yes. He was Death in Bill and Ted, man, like...
Funny story, when I first started watching this movie, I didn't know he was in it. Because I didn't watch a trailer, I didn't watch anything. And then he shows up really early on in the movie, and I was like, oh, hey, it's Bill Sadler. Oh, man, didn't he die? And then I looked it up, and I realized I had somehow Mandela affected myself into believing that he passed away sometime recently.
Yeah, I was like,
but he never did. I don't know why I thought that. I have no idea why I thought that. But thankfully, he is still alive, and he is still acting, and he is still kicking ass, as this movie shows. And he's one of the best parts of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
By far. One thing that's really cool is that even though this is an 80s throwback movie, one of the things this movie does is it doesn't carry over a lot of the problematic elements of 80s movies. Yes, there's a queer character, and yes, there's a homophobic bully, but the movie itself is not homophobic.
Correct, yeah, right.
It makes it very clear this bully's the piece of shit. Because, like, they could have easily had just fed into, like, the 80s tropes, and instead, they used some more modern tropes here.
Yeah.
Murder Size also didn't have those elements, but it kind of treated it in a way where they didn't even address it. Like,
well, yeah, like, because in Murder Side, everything is ridiculous.
Murder Size.
Sorry, in Murder Size, everything is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't there even, is no seriousness in that movie.
It doesn't even address those elements, and the other elements it's embracing.
Yes.
Like the nudity and the blood and the exploitation aspects.
Yeah, this one actually is a more serious movie.
This is a more serious movie and less of an exploitation film.
Yes.
And it actually succeeds at being a more serious movie while also still being an entertaining and fun horror movie.
Yeah.
With that said, my fellow Gorehounds, it is a Tubi original. It is currently available on Tubi. You can just go watch it now. It's literally free. As long as you can tolerate some ads, it's right there. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let us move on to the spoilers. Now, unlike Murder Size, this one actually does have some spoilers.
This one does have a plot, and there are twists.
There are some twists and turns. Now, the first big thing that's pretty much revealed is that, yes, not only is the nurse real, the whole family, except for the guy who performed the ritual, knows about it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when they first started this camp, it was Bill Sadler and his wife, and I think his daughter. Bill Sadler's wife was dying, so they hired this nurse to come take care of her. But then it turns out the nurse has been poisoning her and performing occult rituals on her because she wants immortality.
Yeah.
And that she's not a nurse, she's a goddamn witch.
Yeah.
But to make things complicated, Bill Sadler sleeps with her.
Yeah, because because his wife's
dying.
His wife's dying, and two, the witch is doing it deliberately. Is deliberately seducing him.
But then it turns out things get even worse because when they banish her from the camp, she stakes out like a witch in the woods in the camp. like right outside the camp, actually.
Yeah.
And starts seducing children into the woods and draining them of their blood, and then using that blood to perform more occult rituals.
Yeah. She like drains the blood of children, puts it in bottles, and hangs them from trees.
It's very Blair Witchy at times. Yeah. And ultimately, her ultimate goal is immortality. Yep. Which, to a certain extent, she kind of succeeds at.
Well, she does, because, like, she's resurrected in the middle of the movie.
Exactly. By way of this ritual that they perform that became part of her legend. But no one had the balls to fully execute it.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they didn't realize that part of the execution of it is they must hurt themselves beforehand.
Yeah.
So that she has something to heal.
Yeah, because she's, like, Munchausen by proxy.
Yep. Prick each other's fingers and perform the ritual, and she resurrects and starts seducing the children and making them do her bidding and killing the camp counselors one by one, ultimately culminating in Bill Sadler having to return to the camp, teaming up with his family to give one last stand.
Yep.
Against this evil nurse witch. They trick her using his wife's ring. For whatever reason, she had a thing for Bill Sadler.
Yeah. That seems to be the implication.
We know they slept together, but she was also like, she stole the wife's ring.
She basically obsessed with like replacing his wife.
So they trick her with a fake version of the ring and use it to lure her to the docks and then essentially hack her to pieces with a fucking axe. But not before she gets a hold of a shotgun and blows fucking Bill Sadler's face.
Yeah.
So there's a great example of the kind of gore that's in this movie. His face just goes pop.
Yeah.
There's some other twists and turns in this movie. There's the subplot of the mullet bully dude who's constantly bullying the gay kid.
Gay kid.
And then at the very end of the movie, kisses the gay kid.
Yeah, because
before sacrificing him to the witch because he's still a bully.
Yeah.
So what I liked about it is that you have the twist that, okay, he's being homophobic because he's closeted, but they also didn't let him off the hook for being a bully.
No.
He's still a piece of shit.
He's still a piece of shit.
And I appreciated that because they could have easily had pulled the whole like, oh, it's all fine now. I actually like you or whatever. But instead they're like, no, you're still a piece of shit and a bully.
He's an asshole. I mean, he's not as right now. The biggest asshole in any movie I've ever seen is the bully from Kids vs. Aliens.
Oh yeah, that guy's the king of it. He's not quite there, but he's close.
Yeah, he's working his way up.
Because the thing that this bully does, where he sacrifices that one kid to the witch, that bully did throughout the entire
movie.
He did that to everybody.
He didn't just do it once.
He did it repeatedly. That's what makes him score worse.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't go that far, but he is still a piece of shit. Well, actually, I take that back. He did try to sacrifice another person when he throws that one kid down the stairs. So he does do it twice.
Yeah.
This is the character that you're waiting for the fucking witch to get a hold of. All the other characters, you're like, no, don't take her. No, don't take him. Him, you're like, fucking get him in the eye.
Kill this motherfucker.
And that dude eventually gets it, and it fucking felt good.
Yeah, you feel felt good about it. Like I said before, the scene in this movie that fucking surprised me the most was when the witch first possesses someone.
Oh, yeah.
And she possesses, like, the shy dude who's having trouble, like, hitting on this girl who's kind of interested in him.
Yeah, and at first you think that, like, he's gonna turn into the killer or whatever, but then the other guy stabs him before he could beat the other girl to death.
Yeah.
It's a fucking brutal scene.
Yeah.
And it comes out of, like, fucking nowhere when it hits.
Yeah, because, like, he starts to turn into, a little bit of a creep, but you're not super sure, so the girl's like, no, this isn't
He turns into the nice guy stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's been nice this entire time, and then all of a sudden when she's like, I don't know, he turns on her, right?
Yeah, he turns on her, and she walks away, and you're like, okay, so he's gonna, like, kill her eventually or learn the lesson, and instead,
fucking tries to beat her with a rock.
Immediately picks up a rock and starts to try to kill her.
He succeeds. He kills her.
Yeah, he kills her.
And then the other guy fucking stabs him.
Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that was fast. That's when you realize, oh, he's been possessed.
And then, like, supernatural shit starts happening after that throughout the camp, like the phone exploding and things like that. So it's got, like, a Nightmare on Elm Street, Hello, Mary Lou, Part 2.
Yeah, I was thinking of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
But also, like, because the little kids are running around doing her bidding, there's a little bit of the Brood in there.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was a little bit more of the nurse herself.
Yeah, I would agree. The nurse is kind of a non-entity for most of the movie, even though she's the force kind of driving everything.
Yeah, you only really see her like a couple of times.
And you really see her at the end.
Yeah.
In the finale. I guess the ring was personal to her.
Yeah, I guess.
Bill Sadler was personal. She had to do that personally.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is a twist and surprise is the main character of this movie, the protagonist we've been following for most of this movie, he doesn't make it.
No, he doesn't. Yeah,
the fuck-up kid does not make it. You think he's gonna like turn around and be the non-fuck-up, but he sacrifices himself, you know?
Yeah, that's not even the climax of the movie.
No, it's not. And then it turns into the mom, the brother, and Bill Sadler's
movie, yeah.
As well as his girlfriend. His girlfriend kind of starts to become the more final girl-ish, even though she's not the only one at the end.
Yeah.
To the point where she's the one who like shoots the arrow that like, you know.
Yeah, that kills the witch, you know, or knocks her down.
Knocks her down, and then she gets the shotgun and shoots Bill Sadler, and then all three of them that survive fucking take axes.
Hack her up.
Hatchets and axes to her. And then they bury her in the fucking... in the lake? In the lake.
I gotta say, I was like, she's a witch. Why didn't you burn her?
Fair.
That seems
don't let there be a body to come back to, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, granted, if they want to do a sequel, she's already got magic fucking powers. So.
She'll come back somehow.
Yeah.
You know? The little pieces of ash will reform.
Yeah, exactly.
She'll crawl out of hell.
Yeah. Someone else will do the ritual, get possessed, you know, like, you know, there's a million ways of doing this.
So yeah, She Came from the Woods is a very entertaining 80s throwback movie.
Yeah.
Mashing together a bunch of elements from various 80s movies, but in a way that feels its own.
Yes.
It doesn't just feel like, oh, this is the Nightmare on Elm Street scene. Oh, this is the burning scene.
You can tell where all the inspiration comes from, but it doesn't come off like a ripoff.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And so, with that said... Where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube, where I stream throughout the week. Hit the notification bell on my channel, hit subscribe. I usually start streaming 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you see me streaming, please come in. Love to talk to you. And if you want other ways of knowing when I'm streaming, you can follow me on Blue Sky at Count Jackula. You can follow me on Twitter,
whatever it's called
now,
the
Elon fucking app at Counting Jack. You can follow me that way. Find me on TikTok at Real Count Jackula. And I would love for you to interact with all of my content because I like seeing the little numbers rise. And I'll appreciate it. And I hope I entertained you.
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Mastodon. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, but don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, if you made it this far into the vlog, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag CrutchesKid. Use that hashtag, work it into your comment below, that way I know, that way Jack knows, that way the whole world knows you know who the true goat of this movie was. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and I'll catch y'all later.